I've opened a new file in Illustrator to show you a couple of other techniques that you may find helpful for this assignment. Because we're working on line for this assignment, we're really emphasizing line rather than shape. I've asked you not to use line simply to outline shapes. And what I mean by that is to, for example, take, let's click on the rectangle tool, to take the rectangle tool and just make a rectangle. I'll select away so that you can see that it's simply defined by a line. And this way of using line emphasizes the shape that it's defining rather than the line itself. So we're going to ask you not to use line in that way, to just outline a shape. But if you want to use a shape in this assignment, I'm going to ask you to imply it by line. And I'll show you what I mean by that. One thing that you could do is take off the stroke for this shape, and I'm selecting it and removing the stroke here, and I'm going to fill that shape with a pattern of line that will allow me to imply it. Now, I don't have any of those patterns in my shape swatches here, my fill swatches, so I'm going to go down to Patterns, Basic Graphics. Let's try Basic Graphics Lines. That sounds promising. And I'm going to fill the shape with a pattern of lines. I'm going to bring the fill icon to the front here since I'm no longer working with my palette. And let's find some lines that look like they might fill that very nicely. Now, if I select away from the shape, instead of outlining the shape of the line, I've implied a rectangle by using a pattern of lines. Another way of implying a shape with line is to use clipping mask. Let's look at how you might do that. I'm going to draw a line with this pencil tool here. We're going to just kind of scribble around. I'm going to make sort of a big field of scribbly lines, and I'm going to give that line a stroke to give it a little bit more presence here. And then we're going to take and carve a shape out of that by using clipping mask. So let's try maybe an ellipse here. We're going to draw our ellipse right over the line that I made. I'm going to move it just a little bit so that if I can select it here, there we go. I'm going to move it so that it will be well defined by these scribbles. And I'm going to select it. Looks like I've got it selected there. Make sure that it's on top, although of course I believe it is since I just made it. And then select, as you remember, everything that I want to associate with that clipping mask. Object, clipping mask, make. I'm sure this is all coming back to you from assignment 1. And I now have a shape that is implied by my line, and you'll see, of course, that the line is still there. It's clipped, and because any stroke that ellipse had on it is gone, I have not broken the rules of this assignment by outlining my shape with a line. The other thing that you're encouraged to try on this assignment is to make a line of shapes. Now this has to be a line that actually leads the eye. So although any 2 points, define a line according to Euclid, these 2 shapes here don't really lead my eye in a line. They seem to be 2 separate, discrete shapes. Let's look at how you might use the blend tool in Illustrator to lead the eye in a line of shapes. I'm going to take this, I guess I'll start with an ellipse here. I'm going to make an ellipse on my page, and I'm even going to give it a fill so that we can really see it as a shape. Now I'm going to make another shape. Let's make it something fairly distinctive, like a star. Make a little star up here, and I'm going to give this one a different fill, maybe a very pale gray fill. Now I'm going to choose this blend tool here, and I'm going to double click it, there we go, so that I get the blend tool options. Rather than smooth color on this one, I'm going to try specified steps, and I'm going to turn the specified steps up to 10, let's say. You can choose the number of steps that you wish here. I'm going to click OK, and then simply click on one of my shapes and then click with the blend tool on the other. And Illustrator will not only make a progression of one shape to the other, it's almost like an animation where the star is slowly turning into an ellipse step by step, but it even will blend their values. Now this is a good way of making a line of shapes. It's also a blast, a lot of fun to experiment with. It also works on lines, and this is something that you might wish to try. Let's make a line with the pencil tool. I'm going to make a curved line here and give it a, let's see, it's got a 1-point stroke already. I'm going to drag a copy of it, choosing the Alt key and moving it with the black selection tool so I get a copy. And I'm going to give this particular copy a much thicker stroke, say a 10-point stroke. Now I'm going to use the blend tool again, double click it to make sure that I've got it on specified steps, and this time I think I'll turn it back down to 8 since I have a fairly short, or maybe even 6 since I have a fairly short distance to cover. I'm going to click one line and then the other, and Illustrator will do the math and blend those lines. I'll select away so that you can see them without the blue selection marks. And you can see that this would be a really, really fun tool to use in this line assignment. So experiment with these. I've got some tutorials for the blend tool up in your canvas. So if you want to learn to go into these a little bit more deeply and learn more about them, you can, but I think this is enough to get you into a lot of fun. So good luck and have fun making lines out of shapes and implying shapes using line.